I see posts like this, and I just want to say so much about it because the fact is this statement can be properly applied with amazing results, and, on the other hand, this statement can be misapplied to the point that it becomes abuse, toxicity, and continual chaos. In saying that the group How to Avoid Toxicity comes to mind, I think this group misapplies so many principles of self-improvement and growth that it is more destructive than helpful. I'm sure the leaders' hearts and motives are right, but the free exchange of ideas and the necessary requirement of in-your-face confrontation sometimes is censored to the point that nobody ever really gets held accountable for either being a toxic partner or allowing a toxic partner to rule and reign over lives of significant others and their families. Because the big problem with bad relationships is that it's not just the couple who becomes affected by the breakdown. It fully involves family and friends associated with each side as well. Some will work to try to force toxic people together, and some will work to try and force them apart, and some people will do the worst thing they can possibly do and say nothing. Do nothing and turn a blind eye to anything that makes them feel uncomfortable. And then you have people who talk about how they want to avoid any more toxicity and chaos while their actions and behavior scream, please show me how I can continue to remain in this volatile and abusive situation. They call that working and fighting for the relationship. That's not working and fighting for the relationship. Have you ever heard the phrase to find the right one you have to become the right one? Have you ever heard a couple refer to each other as their best friend? If you take a look at the kinds of relationships those two groups of people enjoy, you notice something profound. Let's take a closer look at these two characteristics of what generally creates the best long-term and functional relationships. Y'all still with me? I love the military and their use of so many acronyms. What's the best answer to the crisis of relationship building in our nation? KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. People who practice the to be the right one you have to become the right one principle work on themselves before they start to throw stones at the other. They realize they could very well be the problem, and that it's unfair for them to put responsibility for the healing of their insecurities on their partner. You have trust issues. It's not your partner's obligation to fix those for you, or even to help you fix them. If you have trust issues, you have no business being in a relationship. Work on your issues effectively. Then, when you're ready to date, don't pursue someone with trust issues. And here's why. There are going to be dry times and hard times in relationships. Sometimes intimacy and romance will suffer because of temporarily shifting priorities and other obligations. Fights will happen. Misunderstandings will occur. Feelings will get hurt and offenses stacked. Sometimes the offense was not at all intended, and sometimes it is very much intended. The only way to find out which it is involves another technique, which has been mostly abandoned in today's environment. When issues of offense and misunderstandings crop up, you cannot fall back on a history of toxicity and hope it will get you through the tough times. You have to make use of the greatest healing power in any relationship, the gift of the power of effective communication. You have to talk openly and honestly, then you have to listen openly and honestly. When a healthy person sees a partner making efforts to do this, that person says to themselves, this guy is really fighting for our relationship. I've seen barriers that have been put up for years come down in an instant when the practice of intentional speaking and active listening are applied. That's when God can and will work his greatest miracles. He says so in the entire short chapter of Psalm 133. When a person who's not emotionally, psychologically, or intellectually ready for a healthy relationship begins to date someone of interest, they don't know what a healthy dating life is supposed to look like, so they make huge mistakes in logic and judgment. When she gets slapped, when he gets cheated on, when they get called abusive names, blasted to friends and family, the person with self-esteem, trust and insecurity issues says to themselves, wow, this person is really fighting for our relationship. No, that person is fighting for dominance and control in an abusive relationship, with only a bad road ahead. Now, let's talk about the best friends dilemma and concept. Best friends are supposed to date and marry, fall in love, and raise families. However, Hollywood has brainwashed society into believing that we're supposed to be our kids' best friends, and that it's just plain weird and awkward to date a best friend. It's a secular philosophy in direct contradiction with biblical principles and has no firm foundation whatsoever. It's a belief system tore up from the floor up. Can you see that? If so, awesome. If not, let me try to help us a little. Best friends who build relationships have something that no other relationship has. They have the security of that deeply bonded union to fall back on when times get hard. And times will get hard. Best friends know instinctively that this is the time to pull together and work as a team. She intuitively knows to carry the majority of the weight when he can't. He knows instinctively to take the heavier burden when she can't. Those relationships heal because those people know how to fight and work for their relationship. And that, my friends, is the whole 1,000 cents. The way I see things.